Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah wa salatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah. This is your brother Arjanwar. A few thoughts on the tragedy that took place during Hajj. As you may have heard, more than 700 people lost their lives during a stampede during Hajj. And this is an enormous tragedy. There's no other way to put it. But some people have asked the question, why did this happen? How come God is punishing these people who came to please Him? Why did they die such a horrible death? And the answer is in two parts. The first part is that in Islam, death is not a punishment. Death is a stage of our lives. Our lives, you see, began before we were conceived. We began as souls from the progeny of Adam a.s. Then we were conceived in the womb of our mothers, and that was the next stage of our lives. Then we were born and we're living in our present day lives. Then there is the stage of death. And after the stage of death is the life of the grave, was called al-barzakh. And finally there is a resurrection, and then after that eternity. So these are the stages of life. Death is but one stage. Second part is that death, or any bad thing for that matter, does not mean that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala hates that person, or Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala hates the family of that person. If someone dies, it is not because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala hates them. It's because their time is up. Like the Prophet ﷺ would say when he was consoling anybody who lost a loved one, he would say, "Inna lillahi ma akhadh." Whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has taken was His. وَلَهُ مَا أَعْطَى. And whatever He gives is also His. وَكُلُّ شَيْءٍ عِنْدَهُ بِأَجَلٍ مُسَمَّى. Everything that happens is in the record of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It has an expiry date. أَجَلٍ مُسَمَّى. وَكُلُّ شَيْءٍ عِنْدَهُ بِأَجَلٍ مُسَمَّى. So subhanAllah, this is in fact the reality that everything has an expiry date. When their time is up, their time is up. That's what happens. If someone dies, it's because their time is up. It's not because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala hated that person. If someone loses a father or a mother, for example, it's not because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala hates that person, so He took the life of the father or took the life of the mother. No, it's because the deceased, their time is up. And this difficult situation is a test for those that the deceased have survived. This is how we view calamities and tragedies in Islam. This is how we view death in Islam. Now, this is exactly the situation of those who lost their lives during Hajj. That their time was up. And this difficult situation now is a test for those who they have survived. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَنَبْلُوكُمْ بِالشَّرِّ وَالْخَيْرِ فِتْنَةً وَإِلَيْنَا تُرْجَعُونَ. In fact, He says, كُلُّ نَفْسٍ ذَائِقَةُ الْمَوْتِ وَنَبْلُوكُمْ بِالشَّرِّ وَالْخَيْرِ فِتْنَةً وَإِلَيْنَا تُرْجَعُونَ. Every single person will die, and we will test you with bad, with evil, and with good, fitnatan, as a test, to see your reaction, to see what you're made of. وَإِلَيْنَا تُرْجَعُونَ. And to us will be your ultimate return. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that good things that happen to us are a test, and the bad things that happen to us are also a test from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If something good happens to someone, that does not necessarily mean that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves them. If something evil happens to someone, that does not necessarily mean that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala hates them or dislikes them. For example, if a person cannot have a child, that does not mean that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala hates them. Does not mean that at all. Does not mean that that person is evil or any lower or something's wrong with them. No. That person, that situation is a test. And that's it. If a person has a child, that does not mean that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves them more, or they are more in God's favor and they're enjoying, they're somehow chosen by God. No, that's not the case. They are chosen for a test. That's what it is. That situation is a test as well. So everything, bad or good, is a test from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The key is fitnatan, to see, the test is to see our reaction, to see what we're made of. It's going to take us maybe to our breaking point to see how is it that we react to those situations. If our reaction to something that's good, like having a child, like having a job, like having opportunity, like having health, like having family, if all these great things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us, if the reaction to that good is thanking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, walhamdulillah, we're on our way to passing the test. If our reaction to bad, something happens, losing a family member, losing a job, losing health, losing wealth, anything that's bad, getting into a car accident, anything from the smallest to the biggest, if our reaction to that is patience, then subhanAllah, we have also passed the test, or we're on our way to passing the test. What is patience here, by the way? This is important because the Prophet ﷺ, the dua that he taught, or the dua that he would make to console the person, he would at the end say, فَلْتَصْبِرُوا وَلْتَحْتَسِبُوا. Have patience and expect Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to reward you for your patience. What is patience in the face of a loss? If a person is able to hold their tongue, keep their emotions in check, that is patience. In absolute terms, the reaction to something that's bad is the patience in that situation is us holding our tongues, us keeping our emotions in check. The Prophet ﷺ, he lost his son passed away. In fact, 6 of his 7 kids passed away before he ﷺ died. And when his 6th child passed away, Ibrahim radiallahu anhu, his eyes swelled up with tears. And when that happened, Abdurrahman ibn Auf radiallahu anhu said, Anta ya Rasulullah, you're going to be crying like this, ya Rasulullah. فَقَالَ يَا ابْنَ عَوْفٍ إِنَّهَا رَحْمَةٌ. He said, Oh Abdurrahman ibn Auf, this is mercy. I can't control this. This is, from my heart. Okay, the eyes are crying. But then he says, إِنَّ الْعَيْنَ تَدْمَعُ. That the eye cries. وَالْقَلْبَ يَحْزَنُ. And the heart is grieved. It's in pain. It's hurt. وَلَا نَقُولُ إِلَّا مَا يَرْضَى رَبُّنَا. Subhanallah. He says, we won't say anything that displeases our master. We will only say things that will please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And he says, وَإِنَّا بِفِرَاقِكَ يَا إِبْرَاهِيمُ لَمَحْزُونُ. He says, Oh Ibrahim, we're so saddened by your loss, subhanallah. So this is how we deal with the most painful situation, keeping our tongues in check, saying only what pleases Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So those who lost their lives at Hajj were not being punished. Their families were not being punished. Their time was up. They were tested, and now their families are being tested. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help their families, and that He resurrects those people who lost their lives at Hajj as wearing their ihram and reciting the talbiyah, and then He accepts them as martyrs, and then He gives them the highest level in Jannah. Barakallahu fikum. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.